Hey everyone, welcome to Screams After Midnight. We talk about horror movies on this show, and if I sound a little bit more somber than usual, I'm not, usually I introduce the show, I start with I try, you try to start with an upbeat attitude. You welcome everyone, you make them feel welcomed, make them feel it's a happy environment, like we're in a good mood, it's a good, good atmosphere. But given the movie we're going to talk about on this episode, I can't do that. I can't fake the happiness. I can't fake being excited.
Oh my.
Because we talk about horror movies, and because the sequel, because the prequel is coming out later this week, we are discussing Annabelle, which of course is the spin-off of The Conjuring. The first of many, in fact, that are coming. We don't have any more yet. I mean, I suppose Annabelle, the creation's technically this next one, but we already have...
This is like the first Avenger of the Conjuring universe.
I suppose if we got Winter Soldier first, then yes. But we have the Nun in production, which is based on a character from the second Conjuring, and we have the Crooked Man in development, which is based on a character from the second Conjuring. Now, I think both of those could be good. I mean, I groaned when I heard about them because of Annabelle, which I'd already seen. But I mean, there's potential there. I mean, there's no reason why they can't be fun movies. So. Sure.
I'm particularly excited for the Nun. I actually really like the director. So,
who's the director?
Well, I forget his name, but it's the guy that did The Hallow, which I think I liked a lot more than you. But
yeah,
Colin Hardy, I think.
Sure. That's fair. I mean, I think it could have potential. And same with the Crooked Man. He had a cool design in the Conjuring 2, so I don't see why it couldn't be fun. So yeah, we're going to talk about Annabelle. We'll do a little spoiler-free section, and then we'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers and start, tearing it to shreds properly. So, obviously this is a character, Annabelle, who was introduced in the first Conjuring film. There was like a little prelude scene in that movie that kind of introduced Annabelle, and then she kind of factored into the movie a little bit later on, in a small way. And obviously people remember it was this creepy doll that, when you're not looking at her, she might move. Simple idea, very, very classic, old school. And so then there's Annabelle, which is this prequel film, or, well, prequels maybe, I mean, it is set before, but spin-off's probably a lot more accurate, because it's not really directly, prequeling the other events. And I'm like, okay, right, this could be fun, like, you get a creepy doll, this could be like a serious version of Chucky, which amusingly we're doing a Chucky movie for later this week. But instead of the wisecrack, this could be like the quiet, creepy version of that, where she, you don't look and she moves, and that could be played with. You could do stuff with that. Unfortunately, this movie, for some reason, decided not to do anything remotely to do with the doll. The doll is practically incidental to the plot of the film.
Well, I mean, my theory is that this had to have been a different movie, that they just slapped Annabelle's name on it. Like, I mean, it really feels like something that they just tried to shoehorn into the universe.
Yeah, well, maybe not during production, but I could see that argument for the script. Like, I can see someone...
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, the script, like, started off as something else.
Yeah, they got a script, and maybe it was a different object. Like, maybe... Because the whole thing is that the female character, Maya, she collects these dolls. So maybe in the original script she collected, I don't know, bottle caps or something. I don't know. It was an evil bottle cap that was possessed. But
I feel like you could just you don't even need like the whole collection thing. Like, you could start off with, just like some type of weirdo crazy cult thing in the beginning that, attaches something to her that haunts them.
Yeah, I could actually really see how this was something else in the script originally, and then they just, we'll do a quick rewrite to shoehorn in a bit of Annabelle, but it doesn't actually play with the fact that it's a creepy doll at all. It does almost nothing like that in the movie.
Oh wait, is the doll supposed to be creepy? Because it just looks like a normal doll to me.
Well, kind of creepy in the way that a clown is creepy. It's not supposed to be creepy, but it's...
I'm just kidding. The doll looks like, I mean, there are weird, creepy porcelain dolls and stuff, but right from the get-go, this looks like a doll that no one would ever want unless they want to be terrified.
Yeah, which makes Maya the creepiest bitch in the film because she is excited. Like, oh, I've been waiting for this one. This completes my collection. You're crazier than the cultists, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Oh, this looks like it'll kill me in my sleep. Thank you.
So that I mean, if I'm going to talk about why this movie's bad, and yes, but yeah, Tim, do you enjoy Annabelle?
Yeah.
I'll do the question quickly. Do you enjoy Annabelle?
Okay, so we might
Just say no. Just say no.
Here's the thing. I don't enjoy it. I don't think it's a good movie, but I definitely don't think it's as bad as some people give like it shit for. Like I'm not gonna say that I like it or that it's good, but it's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen. And I would actually say there are a few scenes that I like.
Well, you have seen The Boy, so it's definitely not the worst thing you've ever seen.
Oh no, The Boy is fantastic.
You're crazy. Joe, I swear we pick up new viewers for this show, and then they don't know about your opinion of The Boy, and then once you eventually mention it in an episode, that's when we lose them because they're like, oh no, your credibility's gone. Tim's a crazy man.
No. People tweet at me hashtag The Boy rules all the time.
Sure.
You don't see it because I block you, but
so my main complaint would be it doesn't actually do anything with the premise, right? That would be my number one reason why this is a giant missed opportunity. It feels like, what the hell's the point of this movie? Now the second reason now, admittedly, I do not think it's the worst thing ever. Like, I'm going to compare it later to Ouija a lot, or Ouija, or however you want to say it.
I think that's fair.
And I think the first Ouija movie is worse than Annabelle, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Obviously stuff like Bye Bye Man is worse than Annabelle. It is. This one is just painfully mediocre.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Right.
Like, I definitely don't think it's good, but again, some of those I feel like exaggerations where it's like, oh, this is the worst, biggest pile of trash ever. I'm like, yeah, it's just it's like forgettable, like, which is like I don't like think about it enough to have that much hate for it.
I'd go a bit higher than that, but yeah, like, I was angry after I saw it, mainly because I felt like it was wasting my time, and I think that's part of the problem is that it's not even funny bad, right? There's nothing about it that I can even laugh about. It's just bad. It's mundane, boring, and it doesn't has any. There's no original ideas in its body. It's the whole thing's just. And so on top of that, you have really bland characters. The main couple are like generic, especially the husband, John. When he's even named John, like, his generic name for. I mean, as soon as he pops on the screen, like, I assumed they were doing like a prologue thing where these two were going to die quick, and then we're going to get the main characters after that. But they don't. These are two characters, and the way I would describe him is Whitey McWhiterson, who of course is going to be a doctor. He's this. In fact, Joe, it reminds me of. He's like someone who should be posing for stock photos.
I can see that.
Right. That's
like
what
a bread model.
Yes. He should be doing things like that. He's got that cheesy, fake-looking smile. But there's like nothing. There's nothing necessarily dislike about these people, but there's nothing to like about them either. They're a blank slate.
Yeah, I feel like there are points of the movie where I just forget that the husband exists.
Yeah, like, you really do.
I really don't think he ever like encounters anything.
He doesn't. That's one of my problems with the last act of the movie is that it starts to pretend like everything's ramped up and it's time for the big final moments, and I'm like, why does anyone but the wife?
Yeah.
But think anything's happening? Like no one else has really seen anything or whatever. At that point, it's just the whole thing. Anyway, so that's the other big problem. So what is it? Like, I keep saying it doesn't do anything with the doll. So what actually does the movie do? Basically, it's just a carbon kind of knockoff of every other haunted house movie that we've had over the last 10 years. Some of the moments feel very similar to those. There's a very specific moment where I really lost interest in this film. It wasn't great before then, but there was a couple of scenes I liked in the first chunk of the movie, right? But there's a specific moment where I really lost interest. It's when stuff in the house started happening on its own, as if there was a ghost, and I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, I thought that was the moment where I'm like, I'm here to see a movie about a creepy doll. Why am I
Yeah.
seeing ghost things happening? Like,
Yeah, that's definitely probably the worst part about it is, yeah, it has nothing to do with Annabelle. Which, yeah, again, if you called it any other thing and got rid of the Annabelle parts, I feel like,
it's still be mediocre as hell. Like, it wouldn't be good.
yeah, but I don't think it would be something that really would make people as angry.
No one would talk about it. No one would care. It'd just be forgotten.
Sure. Yeah.
It would just be a really mundane movie that'd be forgotten. Whereas, because it's Annabelle, and because the entire movie's based on, like, she's only in a few scenes of The Conjuring, but she's really effective in those scenes. Like, people remembered her. That's why she got a movie. Like,
Yeah.
because it was really memorable. And then this is like the complete opposite, where nothing is remotely interesting, or like, all the characters feel very stock as well. You have the friend who actually believes in the spiritual stuff, Evelyn. So
Yeah.
she's there. You get the priest who comes in to help. They're all just very stock characters. It's hard to care about anyone because no one has any personality. Like, the only thing, like, other than collecting dolls, the only thing I can tell you about the wife is that she likes to dip pickles in mustard. That's her thing. Which, as someone who hates mustard and isn't particularly fond of pickles, that whole thing's just ugh.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of bad on top of bad.
The most exciting thing about that scene is because it's set in the 70s, when he pulled out some of the stuff like the Doritos, it was like, oh, it's the old 70s looking Doritos. That was, yeah. I got a kick out of seeing what they look like in the 70s.
Yeah, that's true.
And if that's the most exciting I'm getting during your movie, then you failed somewhere.
Yeah. I can't argue with that. I feel like we'll go into more details in once we get to spoilers
You
and
better
stuff.
believe it, baby.
But I feel like there were like 3 actual scenes that I liked, and
There's one scene that I like.
okay, and yeah, like other than that though, it is just a lot of like nothing around them.
1.5.
Okay,
I'm thinking about it. 1.5.
It feels like this really wanted to be like a combination of Rosemary's Baby and like, yeah, something like the more modern haunted house movie like Conjuring or something.
And people are going to be saying, yeah, it's a Conjuring spin-off. Shouldn't it be like the Conjuring? I'm like, well, no, because it's about the doll. And
yeah,
that was the fun idea of having a spin-off about the doll, is you have this creepy doll movie instead of a ghost. Here's the problem with the movie from a structure point of view, and this is why the movie's garbage anyway. And again, a very mundane way, like, it's not the worst thing ever, but
right.
It keeps resetting its build. Like, something big will happen, right? And then they'll move house, and then everything will be calm and normal again. And then something big will happen, and even though the wives went through it, like, the characters after that will pretend like, I shit you not, get into the third act, get into the final big confrontation where everything's going down. The scene, the whole thing starts with the wife and Evelyn coming home because they've been out shopping for baby clothes, and they're talking like nothing's ever happened. You would never know you're in the last 20 minutes of a horror movie based on the way that sequence starts. It's just them. She's like, oh, you bought my girl a dress? Like, yeah, isn't it lovely? Like, that's how the scene starts. We're like going into the final confrontation where someone might die, where everything's going to go down, and we're starting the scene with, oh, baby dresses, eh?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, if that was happening to me, I would never, allow myself to be alone. I was like, okay, I'm always going to need someone by my side because I am so freaked out. And that's actually something that they did well in the, first Conjuring movie, where you actually saw the family sticking by each other. And
yeah, they all slept in the living room together, like all 5 daughters and the parents.
Yeah. I was like, this is what people would do if this kind of shit was happening. But yeah, it is like kind of strange that she seems very content about like living her life like nothing's happening.
Yeah, and I just thought of something. I don't want to talk about it till spoilers, but there's also a weird kid that kind of has a premonition and it's never brought up again. It's weird.
Yeah. It's another kind of like horror cliche of like, oh, gonna have like a creepy kid say something foreboding.
It's a series of cliches, and the script has no pacing or build. It just keeps resetting back to everything's normal, and then it just acts like it's all going down in the last like 15 minutes, even though it doesn't feel like it's built to that. Really, it's so odd.
Yeah.
I feel like whoever wrote this script really had no idea what they were doing. And the direction's not really much to save it. Like, I think there's some legitimate scenes in this that would have been better with a better director.
Yeah, I'd say he's like he's a competent director, but like
Uninspired.
there's no. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Yeah, I was gonna say like there's nothing really like interesting or that makes it stand out, but it's like, well, I mean, he knows how to point a camera. I guess it's not like like that distracting, but
there's it's just bland for the most part. There's two moments that I like from a directing point of view, but that's about it. And it's really like that's all it is. It boils down to those two moments for me, and that's kind of the whole thing.
Yeah, it is very like if we weren't doing it for the show, I don't know if I ever would have watched this again.
Oh, this is the last time I've ever seen this. I'm done. Yeah. I'm so done. I kind of regret even starting this show after having to sit through this again, to be honest. All right, let's get into spoilers. I feel like we've done what we can without spoilers. So let's go into some spoilers for Annabelle. You've been warned. So first things first, right? So So actually, I did want to say this, right? And technically, some of this should have been in the spoiler-free section, but hey ho, you're here now. So we're getting Annabelle the creation, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, much to our surprise, the reviews are actually quite positive. In fact, for a while it was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now that is it's dipped. It's got up to like 30-something reviews, and it's at 82% now. But even still, that is shockingly good. I mean, the first one I think is at like 20% or less. It's plummeted.
I very quickly went from absolutely dreading seeing this to this could be good.
Yeah, and a big part of this is the director is David F. Sandberg. Definitely Sandberg. I might get the first name wrong, but he directed Lights Out, which we thought was okay. We did think it whiffed a little bit on its premise because we thought because we talked a lot about what we thought it was going to do in the last like half of the movie based on what it set up, and then it didn't really do any of it, and it felt kind of disappointing. But it wasn't badly directed. Like there was definitely skill there.
And it's definitely more fun and a more watchable movie. Like that's something that I'm not going out of my way to see it again, but I wouldn't mind, if it was streaming. And
it smells better than Annabelle. Like, I mean, there's a gulf between Annabelle and Lights Out. But it's funny when I mentioned Ouija earlier on. My first thought when I saw the review scores for Annabelle the Creation, I went, "Holy shit! They pulled a Ouija." Because that's exactly what happened with that. The first one was garbage, and then the second one got a good director. I mean, maybe not an amazing director, but a solid director who's been, consistently, at least been gradually been improving the movies that he's come out. Oculus had some good stuff, Ending whiffed a bit, but then we had Hush, and Hush was pretty good. And here so Ouija 2, Origin of Evil, which was also a prequel, funnily enough, so the comparisons keep... now, the ending did let it down, because the ending had to tie into the first movie, and we agreed that was by far the worst part of that movie. But for the most part, it was actually pretty enjoyable. So, obviously, okay, right, so Annabelle the Creation's coming out, and it's getting good reviews, better director, okay, mildly optimistic. Like, I'm not dreading it, whereas before I was absolutely terrified of going to see this movie. But I was going to do it for the show anyway, but... Here's the thing, right? So I'm watching Annabelle, right? Obviously, I remembered almost nothing about this beyond the broad strokes, right? This movie has the creation of Annabelle in it. This new one's meant to be a prequel that's the creation of Annabelle, but correct me if I'm wrong. So the next door neighbours to our main couple, their daughter ran off and joined a cult, and we're in the time of the Manson family and all that, so it's kind of preying on that kind of ideas. And our daughter and one of her cult boyfriends shows up and like murders the parents, which, by the way, by far the best moment in the movie is the shot of like the couple lying in bed, and you can see the window like through their window, and you can just see like the cultists come in and stab them. I thought that was actually that moment. I remember seeing that in the theater. That moment had me almost hopeful that the rest of the movie was going to be good, because it was the first real scary thing, and I thought it was well handled.
And I would say I genuinely liked the beginning. I like it again, like going into a different movie altogether. It would have worked Like if it was attached to a different movie that was maybe about crazy cultists or something like that,
Yeah, look,
I'd like it. But
I do like. I do think like that moment's great. Then like the husband runs next door, and then once the cultists start coming into their house, I feel like that's where the direction lets it down a little bit. Like this could be amazing, but the direction was making it feel kind of dull. But definitely the movie dips dramatically. Once we're past the first 20 minutes, because once it gets to just the ghost stuff, it just feels really generic. The cultist stuff was actually kind of like, oh, these crazy cultists coming to kill them in the middle of the night. Like that was actually kind of a good idea. And it was something I've not seen recently, so that was fun. But so the police actually show up just in time to save them, and they shoot like this cultist daughter, and you know but she's in a room, she's in the room with the dolls, and when they finally shoot her, she's holding the Annabelle doll, which you know clearly implies to me that before this moment the doll wasn't possessed or a ghost or anything like that. It was just a doll, and you see the blood drip from her into the doll's eye, and it like goes inside, and there's like a little blood symbol on the wall, so you get the impression that while she was in that room and the cops were trying to get in, that she was doing some sort of ritual. She was trying to like do some last little minute thing to live on.
Well, I mean, we totally forgot, like right at the start of the movie there's some like little text thing that says like it was something real stupid, but I was like, since ancient times, like dolls have been used in satanic rituals to summon evil spirits or something like that.
Do you know what? I don't think I was looking. I don't think I was looking at the screen when that text came up, because I don't remember that at all.
I mean, it's like literally like right at the start, but it was some stupid thing like that I'm like, wait, no, that's not true. Like, oh, I mean, maybe it's like a little true, but I think what we think of as dolls like aren't something that's often used in those kind of rituals.
Yeah. Here's a bit of trivia for you.
You have the biggest doll collection I know, so if anyone can chime in on this, it should be you.
I have a hunter from Resident Evil, which is not a doll. It's an action figure, as it were. Okay. I have one of those, and that's it. That is all I have. I'll never get into the whole action figure collecting thing as an adult. It's never been my bag.
Fair enough.
Not that I'm defending myself. I just thought I'd mention that. I thought I'd mention that's the one thing I do have, and I don't even have it on display. It's in a drawer somewhere.
I have a ton. I love action figures, but
yeah. So shut up. Oh no, wait, I lie. I've got a Jason Voorhees.
Oh, nice.
I do have a Jason Voorhees.
I have one I got from Comic-Con a couple of years ago that's like modeled after the NES.
The
Jason
purple,
Voorhees.
the purple one. Yeah, I know what you're saying. So yeah, this clearly is like, okay, and this daughter's name is Annabelle. Like you find this out like at this moment, and you're like, oh shit, so that's who Annabelle is, and that's why she's called Annabelle, and she's possessed a doll, and that's going to be her living on. And from at this moment, I'm thinking, great. And a bit of trivia: the actress who plays Maya is named Annabelle, which I wonder if that's why they cast her,
what?
or if they just a coincidence. But so that's all fine. And you're thinking, okay, that's a decent enough setup. It's fine. Like it's all evil, and like the wife's pregnant at this point, by the way, and she gets stabbed in the pregnant stomach, and they're all worried that the baby may be, screwed.
So I think with this setup, it doesn't put me in gear for like a really good movie, but it puts me in gear of like, this might be kind of like a fun, cheesy kind of movie or something.
It's not terrible yet. It's like I say, like there was a good moment, and then the camera, the directing kind of ruined it a little bit afterwards.
I feel like I definitely don't think it's going to be boring after this opening scene.
No, this was definitely the high point of the movie, definitely. And then it's like the husband like has to go to like because he's almost he's just finishing med school. He's almost at the point where he's going to have like an actual job, in a hospital or whatever, and he has to go to this conference or a seminar, and she's in the house herself, and despite the fact that he put the popcorn on the stove like 2 nights before, because he puts it on, like she's got the TV in the bedroom because she's been told to stay in bed with the doctor, and he puts the TV in the room, and he's like, I'm going to go make popcorn, and then she falls asleep, so he just like turns the stove off, and that's fine. But even though it's like at least a day later because he's gone on the trip, that popcorn's still sitting on there, and a ghost presence just turns on the stove. And that's the moment. That was the moment I was talking about before. This is the moment where I went, oh, what? Why is there a ghost just doing things? Like, what's the point of having the doll if you're just going to do ghosty things? Like I immediately, and that kind of sets up, because she gets scared and the house burns down, of course, and that's when they move to the apartment. And
you never find out if she actually ate the popcorn.
I'm going to say no.
What, you weren't thinking that?
Well, it burst into flames, so I'm fairly confident that she did not eat the popcorn.
I hate wasting food. So.
Do you hate wasting houses?
That I'm not as crazy about.
So they move to the apartment, and we start this cycle. Everything feels fine again, and they act like it's fine. And then, like I say, there's this weird thing with a kid who lives in the building, who draws a picture of like the pram getting hit by a truck.
The what? The prom?
The pram.
The pram? You mean like the baby carriage? Little stroller thing?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I used a UK word. I'm so sorry. That's called a pram. Okay.
Pram. I've honestly never heard that.
Yeah, the stroller, the baby carriage, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. I almost said baby casket, but
baby casket. It almost was a baby casket, Tim. It almost was. So yeah, it's just this truck hitting the baby carriage. See, there's two words. It's just it's not neat. Like not efficient. Not efficient use of your language. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I didn't know if you're trying to get one over on me with some weird made up term.
No.
Yeah, just put her in the fizzy wizzy. I was like, all right, if you say so. Now I'm gonna look like a buffoon when I go to the UK in the future. I keep asking people where the like prams are. They're like, well, someone pulled one over on you, mate.
Okay, that was an Australian accent. At best, that was an Australian accent. Secondly, why would you be looking for the prams? Well, where are the prams? I need to find prams.
I don't. My feet get tired.
Oh dear. Okay. So, and then later on, it kind of comes true. I mean, the baby's not in the carriage at the time, but it gets hit with the truck, and you would think
rip off.
Sure, and you would think that she would want to go see the kid after that, right? Because the kid got this right. The kid predicted this, but she doesn't. She didn't mention it to anyone. Nothing ever said about it or anything. It's just ignored. She's scared for the second that it happens, and then it's just that's it.
Yeah, just a crazy coincidence.
Yeah, and then you get other generic scenes where she goes down to storage, and then the lights start going out, and it's like this ghost-like presence coming after her.
See, I actually liked the elevator scene. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, it felt like generic ghost movie 101 kind of thing.
I don't know. I feel like I mean, it's not the most original, I guess, but it worked for me. I like every time the door opens and it's still on that same floor, I'm like, ooh, that would really suck. But it's not a super long scene though.
Sure. Okay. So if you're simple-minded like Tim, it worked for you. But those of us who, well, are not simple-minded, don't get much out of that scene. Seriously though, it felt really generic. Then later on, the dolls at the crack of the door and all that, and it's the one time the doll comes into play, and that scene, the way that scene ends is kind of cool because she's looking around the room, and the camera the doll starts floating, but when the camera gets closer to it, you see the demon is actually holding it up.
Yeah.
And that was an okay shot. Even though I don't really like the idea that it's just a demon moving it around as opposed to.
I mean, again, if it was not Annabelle, if this was another movie, I would think that would be a lot cooler. And I kind of, the demon, a very simple design, but I kind of liked it. Again, I don't know. I like supernaturally demony kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I didn't think it was that bad, but I mean, again, just kind of going back to the big major complaint is it's weird in this movie.
Yeah, it's
A movie that's supposed to be about this doll.
yeah, it's just the moment itself works quite well. I just don't like the like I say the movie's supposed to be about the doll and it's not. It's just a generic ghost story or demonic possession story kind of idea. Well, not possessed, but I mean, well, the doll's possessed, but I mean, is the doll even possessed?
If we're going back to what we kind of thought was happening from the beginning, which is you have this crazy cult member Annabelle who dies and bleeds on the doll and whatever, you're kind of led to believe that she's possessing the doll, but I guess it's not the case. I guess it's just some random demon, but is like Annabelle
she's still around. You still see her walking around occasionally in the background and stuff, like, as if she's also there. Yeah, which I guess is the justification. Like, even once the demon's gone, she's still in the doll.
But is it like, is she working with the demon? Are they like, is she in the doll with the demon, or is it just her?
I assume so. I assume that she, wanted the demon to show up. Maybe she gets to live on in the doll because she helped the demon get a soul. I don't know. But
I will say,
it does beg the question, though, doesn't it? So, is the creation going to just like ignore this movie and do its own origin, or is it somehow going to tie into what happened in this? And if it's set before this, then how is it called Annabelle? The whole reason why it's called Annabelle is that the girl who, like, bled on it and, like, was the cultist, like, she was called Annabelle. Is it set after this? Because
I'm
the
very
movie,
curious.
this is the thing, the movie ends with the mum of the nurse, because in The Conjuring, the group of girls that have it are nurses, and one of them says their mother got it as a gift. And the movie ends with a scene of the mother buying the doll at the store. So there's like no room after it, really, unless you argue that scene at the end takes place after this next movie.
I hate, like, every time a prequel does something like this where, like, it thinks the audience is not smart enough to understand, like, we know what happens next. They have to, like, basically yell it into your face, like, oh, my daughter is a nurse who needs a gift. Like, oh, gee, I wonder if that's the same young nurse who got it as a gift from the first movie.
Yeah, it felt very unnatural that she announced that her daughter was a nurse to the the store clerk. That was really weird.
But it does kind of make me, I guess, even more interested to see the movie, to kind of see what they're gonna do. I imagine, like, I feel like they would have to kind of ignore it altogether. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Just from the trailers, it feels like it's set before, because it feels like this is like the first girl who ever gets this doll when it's new, kind of thing. But if they're going to set up that it was already like evil or possessed, well, it's just a coincidence that it runs into another person named Annabelle who tries to do a ritual with it. Like, so either it's going to ignore it, which I kind of hope, because this movie sucks. So if it wants to just do its own thing and be good, then sure, by all means, go for it. But I'm a little bit worried that it's going to be exactly like Ouija 2, where the last 10 minutes has to make it fit with the next movie, so they have to wrangle it and like just ruin what they did already so it fits.
Yeah, that is a concern. I have no idea.
Well, hopefully they'll even bother trying, though. If it is a decent movie, make a decent movie and don't worry about it, because we can just always pretend that this one didn't exist. That's fine.
It seems like movies, I feel like, are starting to kind of lean towards that, like, just because I feel like when people get so dissatisfied with something, like, people seem to be more okay with being like, well, let's just forget it. Hopefully no one notices.
Yeah. Oh well. So yeah, the Evelyn character like realizes that, or Maya tries to like offer her soul instead, so she tries to commit suicide at the end of the movie. But Evelyn, who lost her child already, decides to take her place, so the family can be together.
Yeah, this kind of just comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, at the end, it's like, we want your soul. It's like, wait, what? All right. Like, for most of the movie, you don't really know why any of this is happening, or what the demon wants. It's
pretty late on before they start mentioning it, and the priest seemingly gets killed, but then it turns out he's actually just in the hospital. He's going to be okay. By the end of the movie, he's up and about. He's fine. Um, I will say there's a detective character that we see a couple of times who like tells him about the case. Like, you know,
Oh,
after,
jeez, yeah.
and he's like the most. He's probably the most boring detective in one of these movies that I think I've ever seen. He's not necessarily bad. He's just so. Like, again, he feels like he should be doing stock photos. Something about the casting of this movie, particularly the couple and the detective, feel like they should be doing these stock photographs. They feel just so bland. And I'm sure that's not just them. Like, I'm sure it's the way that they've got them all dressed with the 70s haircuts and all, all the rest of it. And but they just feel like they feel lifeless. It's really weird.
I think this is one of the reasons why I tend to like a lot of 80s horror movies is I feel like when you watch some characters, they just look more like distinctive. They have more personality. Like sometimes they'll even be like, I don't know, kind of like weird looking or something where, yeah, I feel like the trend with horror movies nowadays just to get, like some attractive person. And that's kind of it.
Attractive but bland, because everyone has to be able to relate to them. So they deliberately find someone who's really normal for the most part.
This
which
guy's
is boring.
just like me.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's fun if everyone's a little bit wackier. Have different types of people. It's boring when everyone's just like generic whitey person, because that's kind of what it feels like.
You can like make fun of 80s movies. A lot of times they'll have like the crazy best friend who's like over the top and annoying, and you can make fun of that. But those people are like some of the most memorable characters that you'll get in these kind of movies.
Yeah, this is literally just shooting to be as bland as possible. It's kind of and I think the thinking is, if it's bland, it feels real. And I'm like, well, yeah, but even real people are more interesting. They have likes and dislikes. They have fears, and they have like.
I mean, yeah, if you just go back to the Conjuring movies, I think that does it really well, where you have characters that they're not crazy larger than life characters. They do feel like a little more real, but you actually enjoy them and want to spend time with them.
Yeah, and you actually care about them caring about each other. Like there's like a concern for each of them. Whereas here, the baby's basically just a prop, which is, I mean, that's kind of okay 'cause it's a baby. A baby can't have personality, but like,
I don't know. Have you ever seen Look Who's Talking?
Oh no, I haven't. I think I've seen part of it. For some reason, I went to the wrong movie in my head. I went to Baby's Day Out instead, which I definitely have seen.
Yeah.
Classic. Not really.
That movie is like super popular in other countries.
Really? Like where?
Yeah. I heard him talking about it on a podcast. I forget the exact country, but someone was saying like they went there and it was still playing in theaters like way after it stopped in the U.S.
That is rather strange. It's a weird movie.
I think it kind of makes sense though, because it's all like physical gags, so it's something that could easily translate to a foreign country.
Sure, I can kind of see that argument. Still a really stupid movie that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Oh sure, yeah.
But yeah, that's fair. God, what else? I feel like I've hit all my moments. Go on, Tim. Hit me with something.
There is one scene that I kind of like, and I'm not going to argue that it's not kind of like a generic jump scare kind of scene, but I do like the scene where, she sees like the little girl in the one room and it runs towards her, and when it gets to the other room, she transforms into an adult. Like, it a little bit of a cheap jump scare, but I did like it.
Yeah, it did nothing for me, Tim. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying it's like the best scene in a horror movie, but I mean, again, if I was kind of cherry picking little things from the movie, I could say like, well, I enjoyed that scene. But again, that it's like what, 5 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's just part of the problem, is that once it lost my attention, once it lost my trust or my expectations, it got to a point where, because it was going through that cycle of something happens, now let's pretend everything's normal, and it kept kind of going round in circles, that I was in a really cynical mood. So maybe there's a couple of things like that. Maybe they were fine technically, but like at that point I was like, no, you're going to have to do something better than that to impress me at this point. You're going to have to really show off to bring me back in.
Now, have you ever looked up like the story of the real Annabelle, like the Ed and Lorraine doll that they have. I don't know if you ever looked that up.
I have not. I feel like you probably told this story when we did the Conjuring
Uh,
last year, but go for it.
well, it's been a while since I read up on it, but I do remember.
That's to say, I don't remember. Like, I don't remember what the story is, but for some reason, I feel like I remember you going into like starting it like this. Like, I remember you bringing it up. But go on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, I love, like, real life ghost stories and legends and stuff. And I remember after seeing the Conjuring movie, I looked up some stuff on the real Annabelle, and it's actually a pretty interesting story. I don't know if it would be enough to hold a movie, which is probably why they didn't go there. But it's like absolutely nothing to do with like this movie. Like, surprise, surprise, there's no cult or anything. It's the real Annabelle doll is actually a Raggedy Ann doll. Which again, I think like having just kind of like an old fashioned doll like that, it can kind of be creepy too. Again, with the Annabelle doll, it's one of those things where they're trying too hard to make it look creepy. I feel like, to the point where it's like, well, who would ever want this doll?
Yeah.
Like something like Chucky, like I think you can see like, oh, like, yeah, he can be creepy once he's all like maniacal and stuff, but otherwise he looks like a regular doll that I could see in real life, like a kid wanting maybe. But yeah, I don't know. I would say though, if anyone is interested, if you go to I think Ed and Lorraine's website or just go to Wikipedia or something, they have the real Annabelle story, which I do think is actually kind of interesting. I think the one thing that sticks out to me about it is they do have it in a glass case that says, like, absolutely do not let out or something. And I believe the reason why they had to put it in there was because some people came and did like a tour of the house. And I think it was kind of like this macho, manly man, biker dude that was like making fun of the doll and like poked it and stuff. And they were like, oh, no, don't do that. And then he was like, oh, I'm not scared or whatever. And then he rode his motorcycle on the way home and ended up crashing it. And I don't know if he died or just went to the hospital, but it's one of those things where they're like, oh, like Annabelle got him.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the hardest to talk about a movie that's as bland and as lifeless as this, and that's really how I would describe this. It's bland and lifeless, and that sometimes that's worse than just being bad, because I can't even make fun of it to any great extent. I mean, we've done a little bit, but like, yeah, it's just. Honestly, I mean, it's only been a few hours since I watched it, and I'm already starting to be fuzzy on like a lot of the details, because it is just that forgettable. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So here's hoping that the creation does some interesting stuff and at least has some ideas in it. Which I think is the biggest thing here. Is I felt this was just devoid of ideas. Like there was no creativity. It was just, we need to shout out a movie that's called Annabelle to bang, to cash in on the success of Conjuring. That's all this feels like, and it feels lifeless. It doesn't even feel like, okay, it was a bad script, but maybe like a better director would be like, oh, let's have some fun with this. Let's do some wacky stuff and maybe make it a bit more interesting from a filmmaking point of view or whatever. But here it is just what it is, and it's completely forgettable. I do not recommend it at all. I do not think you'll have had to have seen this to enjoy the new one, should the new one be worth seeing. So, I mean, obviously we'll say that at the start of the new one's review. We'll mention if that is the case, but yeah, I'm not feeling it. Any final points, Tim, before we rate this turd?
Nope.
Cool. Annabelle, Tim, what are you rating out of 10?
I'm gonna be a little generous and give it a 4.5 because of the few scenes that I did like.
All right.
Because I feel like it's pretty, like, middle of the road. Like, I would say like less. I'd say below like middle of the road, but again, a few scenes that I did like that I'm not gonna deny that I enjoyed. So
is it buried underneath the road if it's below the middle of the road?
It's in the sewer, hanging out with the Ninja Turtles.
How dare you? How dare you? 4.5 is too generous. Because as much as I'm saying it's not the worst thing ever, it's still really goddamn bad. Like, it's better than Bye Bye Man, it's better than the first Ouija, it's better than Noah's, but it is not just, I wouldn't say it's
better
just,
than Noah's. What?
Those, it's better than Noah's.
Oh, those. I thought you said Noah's. I was like, what? Is that a biblical horror movie we haven't done yet? Noah's Revenge. Actually, it would be kind of cool.
Noah goes crazy and kills all the animals on the ark.
Oh, yeah. And then the animals come back as zombies and he floods someone's house.
I'm pretty sure the house is already flooded, Tim. If the rest of the story, goes to the usual script.
Well, this is the modern day. Like, he comes back because someone says his name 3 times in the toilet.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 3 out of 10.
Oof.
It's a bad movie. It's a really bad movie. It's not the worst thing ever, but it is. It's bad. It's uninteresting. It wastes any potential the idea had. The characters are dull and bland. The music is generic. The scares are mostly generic. Like, there's nothing. It's like, instead of doing anything with the premise, it just does a generic ghost story that we've had a lot these last few, and doesn't do it nearly as well as the good ones. For example, The Conjuring. Funnily enough, so no, 3 out of 10. Which is better than Bye Bye Man. It's better than Ouija. Better than The Boy. Yeah. Nah, probably on par with The Boy. I can't say that with a straight face.
No, you're an idiot.
It's about on par.
No.
What are you saying, Timmy? You had thoughts.
The Boy's fantastic. What are you talking about?
Well, before that, you were going to say something.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask if you regretted getting that Annabelle tattoo.
I just have to meet a woman named Annabelle and fall in love, and it's fine. Like,
that's true, yeah.
And I don't have to get it removed. I admit that's maybe being a bit picky. Are you named Annabelle? Do you want to spend the rest of your life with me? Like, those are big questions to ask on a first date.
Yeah, there's no reason you have to compromise. Just
Also, I don't know why I'm asking her name on the first date. Surely I'd have done that before the first date, but
see, the way I picture it is you're literally just going around and going up to every girl you meet. Are you named Annabelle? No. Okay. Are you named Annabelle?
Very politely, though. Are you named Annabelle? No. Oh, sorry for bothering you. Are you named Annabelle? No, sorry for bothering you. Are you named Annabelle? Yes. Are you single? No. Would you consider getting a divorce? Would you consider it?
Now, I've never actually seen it, but me and my brother share a love of really, really, really bad movies, and he saw, I think it was called Haunted House, like the Marlon Wayans, like paranormal spoof movie, and he did tell me that Marlon Wayans does sleep with Annabelle in that movie, which kind of makes me want to see it.
No force on earth could get me to watch that. No force.
The patrons, maybe.
For a high price. It'll be a high price to get me to watch that shit. God damn it, Tim.
I like how you talk to me like I made the movie.
Well, I'd forgotten it. I don't even, I vaguely remembered it existed, and then you come in and you remind me it exists. Nah.
That's what I do.
That, along with all those, scary movie, date movie, epic movie, all those bollocks. I hate them all.
Yeah.
Despise them. Spoofing has really not been, like, I mean, if you count Cabin in the Woods, then yeah, that's fantastic. But, like, I don't know if you would. Like, does that fit into the same mold?
Not really. My whole thing with spoofs is I don't like it when people spoof something very specific. And what they do in those blank movies is they literally just take like a specific movie and then insert their own characters into it.
It's just reference after reference, and they rely on the reference to be the joke. Whereas, say, the Naked Gun movies make fun of tropes. They make fun of the things that all of the movies do, which is why they're kind of timeless, because You
Yeah.
watch it and you're like, oh, he's making fun of cop movies. He's making fun of this. He's making fun of that. And
Yeah,
it kind of works.
Yeah, those I enjoy, and like one of my favorite comedies of all time is Wet Hot American Summer, and that is basically like a summer camp spoof movie, but they're not, specifically spoofing this movie or that movie. It's kind of like, oh, we're just dealing with these tropes that you usually see in summer movies. So that kind of stuff I think can be done pretty well. But yeah, these movies don't do that.
No, it's just a spoof of Sleepaway Camp, Tim. I've seen it.
Wet Hot American Summer?
Yeah.
No, that's
Sleepaway Camp.
Sure, if you say so.
It's basically Sleepaway Camp 4.
I don't know. I think you might have just watched Sleepaway Camp. I got it confused.
Dear. Speaking of spoofs, actually, I thoroughly recommend. Me and Connor have been reviewing it, but on Amazon. So an Amazon original right now called Comrade Detective, which is a satire spoof of like 80s and 70s cop shows, and the whole conceit is that it's filmed as if it was a Romanian show, and with Romanian actors doing the Romanian dialogue, and then it's dubbed in really bad sort of English by Channing Tatum and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And it's surprisingly really good. Like the plot's actually quite good, on top of it being kind of funny, because it's the whole gist of it is that it's made by Romanians during the Soviet era, and because of that, they talk about America and capitalism as if it's evil, and that's the villains of the story. So it's kind of it's kind of like how like Rocky IV talks about Russia. It's like that flipped around but turned up to 11. Yeah. It's really funny. It's good stuff.
Oh, that sounds good. I'll have to check that out.
So it's only 6 episodes. So I'd recommend checking it out if you're looking. Obviously, it's not horror.
Yeah.
You're watching this like, I want horror recommendations, Peter. Shut up. Give me something with blood and boobs in it.
You know what? That I find a lot of times though, if I have like similar horror opinions to someone, I find that our comedy opinions will usually be pretty similar too.
So,
not all the time, but a good portion of the time.
That said, the villain, and I'm not finished yet, but the villain who wears a Ronald Reagan mask is quite creepy. So there is maybe a touch of horror in there.
Cool. I'll definitely check that out. I have a big backlog of stuff I want to watch, but
that's good stuff. And there's a lot of other like guest stars, like Daniel Craig did a voice for one episode, and John Ralphio's sister from Parks and Rec is a voice on it, and
Jenny Slate, I think.
Yeah, Jake Johnson does a voice. Yeah, that's a. Speaking of Parks and Rec, what's his face? Ron Swanson. Nick Offerman. He voices the police captain in it. I'd recommend it. Anyway, we've went off Annabelle because we don't want to talk about it. So that is Annabelle. Let us know what you think of the film in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mild_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/milefuzztv. Maybe we'll add a perk where you can make me and Tim watch a movie of your choosing. I mean, you get to vote once a month, of course, on a bonus episode if you're on Patreon at the $5 tier. The voting for next month is up. They're all Stephen King movies, because by the time we're doing that one, it'll be coming out, and it's like a nice sort of bit of synergy between episodes. So you can go do that. But otherwise, guys, that is us. So thank you very much once again for watching. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.